to Total Recall. Today we're going to be talking about something that one of our first Total Recall episodes was when we were talking about the trailer for Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut. That was like one of our maybe even our first episode.
Yeah.
And so now we'd be remiss to not talk about the actual movie. Like it's done, it's out there, and we checked it out. And
I was listening to the full discography of D. Snyder's Twisted Sister. I got a little bait and switch.
Not a bad companion piece.
Yeah, I put in my Strangeland VHS, but I'm back on track.
The SMF approved.
Wow, Warner Brothers gave D. Snyder the keys to the Ferrari.
Yeah, it was only what, like $70 million more dollars that they gave him to do like a super cut of Strangeland.
Strangeland.
I'm Tom Scioli, author of Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics, and Fantastic Four Grand Design.
I'm Matt Zeoli.
And check out my Patreon. Go to patreon.com and search Tom Scioli.
You can follow me on Instagram at cinema_tomb.
Subscribe to the channel, like, comment, do all that stuff. We love to hear from you. Get some conversations going in the comments. So when when this thing was announced, it sounded good to me. I liked it intellectually. I liked the idea of somebody who didn't get to finish this movie that they had finished. It was like 3/4 done or whatever. It was close to completion, and wasn't able to finish it. Like getting a second chance. Like I love that.
Me too.
I love the Donner cut.
Oh yeah.
All that kind of stuff. A big part of why he wasn't able to finish it was because of a family tragedy and stuff. So that added even more of let this guy do this thing, please,
The Snyderverse.
Yeah.
It's the is it Man of Steel, Batman versus Superman, and Justice League. Is that comprised of, I think...
Yeah, Man of Steel, BVS.
Yes.
And this,
Yeah.
That would be it. This is what it was all building towards. You introduce Superman, you introduce Superman and Batman, and then you jump off into the Justice League. Aquaman would have come after this, and I mean it did. It came, Justice League came out in the theater, a version of it, very different from this.
Oh, very different.
And there was a lot of the criticism of just this whole enterprise, this whole idea of doing a Snyder cut. The criticism was Justice League was just kind of a whatever, just an okay movie. Why are you investing all this money in doing a super edit of a movie that was just okay? But it's
it was great because I watched the original version of Justice League right before this, and it's leaps and bounds better, I thought, than the original released film,
theatrical cut or whatever.
Cut. I saw Man of Steel probably 2013 when that came out, and I haven't seen BVS.
You haven't seen BVS?
I haven't seen BVS yet. I like all the versions of Batman. I'm on board with Batfleck.
I don't know how it breaks down, time-wise, but it felt recent. It felt we just had, this amazing Christopher Nolan Batman series, and already we're rebooting Batman. It felt like a little soon, and maybe lost in the shuffle a little
You're
bit.
Hey, I was watching The Dark Knight. I see Christian Bale. I swore I saw Ben Affleck's Batman walking by in the background of The Dark Knight.
Yeah, checking out the set. Okay, I'm gonna be taking. He's moving in. It's the peaceful transfer of bat power.
I see the Batfleck doing his thing here, but then was there reshoots? When they expanded, did they shoot again? Because Affleck's Batman, I thought it was looking a little thick in the midsection.
Well,
and then he was kind of svelte in that epilogue. So I was I think the svelte one felt recent.
Newer, and that's pretty much how it was. That's how you can tell the newer stuff. The lean Affleck is the reshoots or the new. $70 million is the figure I've heard of what it took to get this. From what Zack Snyder had on his hard drive to being an actual movie you could watch. it was $70 million to get from there to there, and so that's a lot of money. That's a lot of scratch.
That's amazing. That 70 million's like some movies' entire budget will never sniff that, and this is for like to expand
like a nearly completed movie, and so I guess he had a bunch of leftover cash, and so that was what that epilogue was about. That epilogue wasn't part of the original plan, but it's like, I got all this dough. I'm probably not going to do another one of these superhero movies again. So let me do a scene with the Joker.
Yeah.
And, let me have some fun with these extra bucks I have. But I thought about the figure, because that's another thing. Like, people were saying, like, oh, it's such an exorbitant amount of money to just put some finishing touches on an already finished mediocre film. But it's like, when you look at the finished product, like this is my favorite Zack Snyder movie. Like, I loved it.
I loved it too. After our Watchmen episode, I fell in love with the Zack Snyder's Watchmen all over again.
Yeah.
But this is right up there with it. I also love Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead remake, and I've never seen Sucker Punch.
I think the budget for this movie, like for the first incarnation of Justice League, the budget was like $300 million or something, something like that. So it's like, you already spent $300 million, spending another $70 million to take a movie from being just kind of mediocre and forgettable to being like a great superhero movie, like an epic, like something for the ages. That's a bargain. Yeah,
it really is. I mean, like, it's like you're already in the red on 300. It's like, to get to this 4-hour like magnum opus, $70 million. It's like drop in the bucket.
I think they got their money's worth out of it.
Yeah,
and when there's a theatrical release eventually, like, I'll go see it. But yeah, like I saw the original version of the Justice League. I was kind of like, yeah, what, it was okay, but I haven't thought about it or seen it again since. And then this, like, I was like on the edge of my seat.
Oh yeah,
loving every minute, and just like watching everything unfold. It's like, like, it just needs time, like a super team. Like, it's one thing if it's just a Batman story or just a Superman story, but for this whole ensemble, like, you need to give everybody time to have their moment.
And like, since I watched the original version right before this, I was trying to like be like, okay, I like his change up of like the music cue or like the music selection, or like this scene feels longer, and like it was nice to like have them juxtaposed back to back.
Yeah, like, I wanted to go back and watch, the old version of Justice League, but I just
like why it in the garbage?
Why do that to myself? Why torture myself that way? Because I was curious, but I'm not that curious. Like, I'm a huge Jack Kirby fan, and I wrote a book all about Jack Kirby's life, and I've done various things in comics referencing Jack Kirby's work, and like, my favorite Jack Kirby thing ever is New Gods, like the whole Fourth World epic. And in this movie, like, we get all kinds of New Gods, Fourth World, Jack Kirby stuff added to the mix that like wasn't there, and we get Darkseid. Jack
there
Kirby's big villain. And yeah, like, this scene did not exist in any form in the old version of Justice League, and it's like, it's Wonder Woman in this like ancient cave with like these paintings of this like of Darkseid in this kind of like,
it was awesome.
Pretty awesome. Yeah, like I was all about this. Like, I was
so
on board, and like that alone is like, this whole thing was worth it just to see like this cave painting of Darkseid. But then it's like, you get, like, if you're into Jack Kirby and if you're into Jack Kirby's New Gods and Fourth World, like, you get it. You get the anti-life equation. You get you get to see Darkseid. Like, that was the thing that was the big tease. Like, once when they were trying to get the Snyder cut going, and then once it was going, that was the big tease of like, Zack Snyder's like, I got Darkseid in here, and he would show like these like grainy stills from like his like black and white like laptop cut of this, and it's like, wow, there's Darkseid. Like, and that was the killer app. That was the thing that enticed you.
Like, and when you mentioned he had it on his hard drive, what if Snyder's like, ooh, my Western digital?
My scan disc.
My scan disc is bad.
Yeah, it's got a bad sector on it, and the whole thing's, unreadable now.
He has to take it to like the Geek Squad. And he's like, I could. It'll be $500 to unlock the Snyder cut.
Yeah, that was part of the budget was to get
off of his scan disc. His busted external hard drive.
It was on his iMac. I was just like loving every minute, like all the stuff they added, with the Kirby's, and then it's like, and then I was kind of like, wait, was that in the original? Like, I was having like, but no, it's and so Darkseid shows up, Desaad shows up, who's like another like Jack Kirby character. He was like Darkseid's right hand man. He shows up, and he is like super cool.
That's so cool. I love it. It's like kinetic sand or something.
Yeah.
Like burning kinetic sand. I thought that was amazing. And then Steppenwolf's armor, too.
Yeah, his armor's totally different. Like, Steppenwolf's look is almost unrecognizable as, like, the Kirby character Steppenwolf. He's got the name, and he's got maybe some of the motivation. His motivation is kind of related, but then his look is, like, completely different. Like, the one thing that is maybe consistent with the Kirby stuff is that he has an axe, and
Is his head shaped like that?
No.
Looks like Momau Dawn.
Yeah, like Steppenwolf's look. The previous version of Justice League looked a little closer to Jack Kirby's version, but Jack Kirby's version, like, I understand why they changed his look for this. Like, Jack Kirby's version works really well on a comics page, but I understand why they made it, because Jack Kirby's Steppenwolf kind of looks like clearly modeled on Prince Baron from Flash Gordon. He's kind of like an amped up version of that, and he's got like his Johnny hat, and he's got this like big fur coat. It's like he's pretty badass in the comic, but I get why it's like, he went with something different. So the look is completely different, but it's still got some of the Kirby soul, the name and his kind of like demeanor, and also his relationship to Darkseid, that like, they didn't have the best relationship in the comics either. And yeah, he had the axe. The only thing that if he had would have made him maybe feel more like the comics one is he also had like a whip. He had this like electronic whip.
Oh, that's cool as hell.
So like an axe and a whip. Maybe he would have been too similar to like the Balrog from
If
he had like this like electro whip or something.
Yeah, like I think part of the budget too was like deleting that wizard that was like like yelling at him on the on the bridge. He was like Steppenwolf kept trying to pass.
For like the Kirby content, like that was the thing that like really blew my mind. I mean, just the movie as a whole just works better, but then all this added Kirby content was like such like a gift to me. And then there like, or at the end, there's like this stare down where like the boom tube opens up and you see this like view into Apocalypse, and it looks like this sort of this hell world, and Darkseid's castle kind of looks like some kind of like cathedral with like stained glass windows and stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah, with all these like stained glass images of himself, and then in the background you have behind Darkseid you have Desaad, and then you have Granny Goodness, who's like another like Jack Kirby deep cut. Yeah, so it's just like as a Kirby fan, it's like.
Was that the character? Was the
her name's Granny Goodness, and she runs the orphanage on Apocalypse, and she kind of like takes like all the orphans of Apocalypse and then turns them into like soldiers for Darkseid's army. And so awesome. It's like you're getting this glimpse, and the way it was handled was really great too. That he's just kind of like. It's just this like simmering kind of stare down, and then even like like when Steppenwolf's head gets cut off, and then it like lands at Darkseid's feet, and he just kind of.
I love that finale too. Like everybody got to get a little lick in there.
Yeah,
it's like the ending of MacGruber. Like he's like falling off. He like shoots him with a machine gun, shoots him with a grenade launcher, and then pisses on his corpse.
Where you have your team, everybody's got to get a hit in
the shot. And I love how it's like severed head like goes through the portal.
Yeah,
that's so awesome.
So it's like just this movie has room to breathe. So like you get to have the like, we're on board, we're here, we're with you. So just take us on your trip, and like maybe like I understand why, like in 2017 or whatever, the studio was like, hey, you know, you can't make a movie this long. People, you know, you know, Lord of the Rings barely got away with it. You know, people aren't going to sit still for this, and also the thing of like, oh, you know, this like sort of dark, brooding superhero thing. It doesn't work for the Justice League. You gotta lighten it up, and we'll bring a little bit of like the Avengers, a little bit of the Marvel. But it's like I get it, I understand those notes, but it's like you just gotta let him do his thing. Like if he's the guy making this movie, if you got Zack Snyder, let him do his thing. It's gonna be so much better than if you kind of second guess him and try and turn it into something else.
Snyder already has a few flicks under his belt too,
Yeah.
so he's kind of been working with these actors and this material.
Yeah, and it did kind of remind me of like the Donner cut, where like, you know, when Richard Donner got fired off of you know, Superman 2, you know, the whole cast was like, hey, you know, we had this relationship with this guy, and like, what's going on? You know, there was a little bit of a, you know, pushback from the cast. I was not expecting to see Desaad, so that was like, whoa, like, you're kidding me, you know.
It's like dripping, like melting lead or something. It's
yeah. In the Jack Kirby mythology, there's like the source wall. It's this like wall that kind of has this like fiery hand that writes, you know, your destiny in it and stuff. And so this seems like Zack Snyder kind of extrapolating like the bad guy version of that.
That's
you know?
awesome.
The story that's in this is kind of like a, you know, sort of well-told chestnut at this point, because like in the 80s there was like the Superpowers cartoon. It was like the Super Friends or whatever, and it was like, you know, a couple of seasons in, like the show had been around for a while, and then one season it became like the Superpowers show, and they introduced all those Jack Kirby villains. They introduced Darkseid and all this stuff, and everything like kind of ratcheted up a notch because of that. And this is almost kind of like a retelling of that a little bit. And they had this thing called like Seeds of Doom. It was like these seeds that like Darkseid's guys were like planting all over the earth, and they were going to like turn Earth into like a version of Apocalypse. And in this, they kind of have a reference to that too, like that kind of that base that Steppenwolf sets up. It kind of has this like, it looks like the Seeds of Doom. It's
like that shield
yeah, with like these veins and stuff. That's what the Seeds of Doom. And so like over the years in comics, they've like retold that story. So like, you know, even like as recently as like the New 52, you had like Jim Lee drawing like a version of this where it's like the Justice League are formed in trying to stop Darkseid from turning the Earth into. So this is like kind of the movie, you know, version of that.
Steppenwolf selects like Chernobyl almost, like this is like, he's like the most fouled place or something, or
well, because like Apocalypse has all these like big flaming fire pits, and it almost looks like a planet, like a Chernobyl planet, where it's like a planet of like
irradiated.
Nuclear accidents and.
He's like he's like, this place will feel like home in no time. It's like he had a Home Sweet Home sign hanging on the inside of that cooling tower.
The flashback where we're seeing like Darkseid's first arrival on Earth back in the olden days, and he fights like the BC version of the Justice League, and you got like all these different characters. You have like a Green Lantern and stuff. Whoever was like the Green Lantern back then, and then you have young Zeus.
Yes.
When I saw that, I was like, whoa! This young version of Zeus hurling thunderbolts.
That's so awesome. The Darkseid action figure.
Yeah.
I didn't really know who he was when I had him, but every time I see him on the screen, I'm looking for that little like
that little light, that little opening on the top to make
light.
his eyes glow. Yeah, like you, I don't know what that thing's going for now, but it was kind of like a collector's item before. But I can only imagine more so now that like Darkseid's hit the big
thing. That.
You know, I mean, I don't know how much more I want to talk about like the Kirby stuff, because it's like, like it's on the record that like any kind of Kirby thing and any kind of New Gods thing you're gonna put on, I'm gonna go crazy for. So it's
God.
Like
I'm so glad that I'm like, that's so.
I've been wanting Darkseid to kind of hit the big time for a long time, and it's like there've been various points where they would tease like, when J.J. Abrams was working on a Superman movie way back. It was like, oh, Darkseid might be the villain, or like it's been teased all this time, and we just never saw him. And I always felt like Darkseid is like he's the original. Like Kirby created Darkseid, and then like a couple years later, Jim Starlin, who was like a huge fan of Kirby, created something. He was still in college, and he created like a comic book mythology that he has stated like he wanted to sort of pay tribute to Jack Kirby's New Gods and figure. So he created this like Titan mythology with like Mentor, with like all the Eros, all these different characters, and then Thanos.
Okay.
He created Thanos, and Thanos was like a tribute to Jack Kirby's New Gods. He started life as kind of like a tribute to Metron of the New Gods, but then for various reasons Starlin brought in like some more Darkseid to the mix too, so he kind of became this fusion of like two Jack Kirby characters, Metron and Darkseid. So it's like like Darkseid's the original, and it's kind of a shame that like the world got introduced to Thanos first, because now like Darkseid, it's hard for Darkseid.
I'm 100% with you. When I put this on, I'm like, I'm gonna let nature take its course, and I found myself like involuntarily popping like big time anytime Darkseid was around. I'm like, I'm all in on fucking Darkseid.
Yeah, he's
like,
got a charisma.
Can't get enough of Darkseid.
Yeah, he was like that. He was like Kirby's killer app. Like Kirby created New Gods, Mr. Miracle, and Forever People, and it was this big spanning thing. But like the cohesive tissue, the thing that linked all of them was Darkseid. He was like, the big bad. You need good villains, and Kirby came up with kind of like like the ultimate villain that can give like Superman a run for his money.
In your book, I love the when he's watching Star Wars in the theater and he sees Darth Vader and he's that bastard.
Yeah, because it is like New God. Like when you check out like New Gods and all that Fourth World stuff, you start seeing like like you see all the things it influenced, and one of them famously being Star Wars. How do you introduce New Gods and Darkseid to a cinema audience without them saying like, oh, this is a ripoff of Star Wars, oh, this is a ripoff of Thanos? All Kirby's New Gods predates all of those things and influenced all of those things, but it's like the cinema going audience doesn't know that.
I think I'm gonna make that picture of Darkseid's like hieroglyphic, like the background of my computer.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I love that.
It is beautiful. It is pretty awesome.
With those boxes. There's
the Mother Box, yeah.
There's a band I love called Weatherbox, and I kept like getting excited because I thought they were like, they kept saying weather. It's Mother. Is it Mother?
Yeah, Mother Box, and which is another Kirby concept. Like that's like one of the first concepts Kirby introduces in his Fourth World mythology is the Mother Box, and they function a little differently than in here, but it's like the same like essential thing of like just this like weird techno box that's kind of technology but also kind of alive and kind of magical. So it's got that in common. Just really, really awesome.
And you got Joe Morton, Miles Dyson himself, doing a little like
playing almost the same character.
I get when he's in a lab and you have to like has a crew break into the lab and like I think they turn two keys simultaneously or something.
Yeah, it is like.
And he dies.
It's easier to get your movie made if like the studio can kind of get it, can understand. So it's like, oh yeah, and then we're gonna have this part that's kind of like in Terminator, and we're gonna get the actual guy too.
There was a part I loved too. It was so funny when Joe Morton was talking to the janitor at the lab. And like, I love when they have to lay it on thick for the audience too. They're like, I knew something bad was gonna happen to the janitor, but he's like, say hi to your wife and kids. He's like, say hi to your loving wife and little Timmy and little Jimmy and little Susie.
On this, your last day before you retire.
And he's like, and go figure. He's like, congratulations on your retirement. This is the last day.
And you never missed a day of work. And this facility has been accident-free
for 1,000 days. Oh, and don't forget to give me a cut of that winning lottery ticket you hit earlier today. Then that guy survived that thing. I thought he was dead meat.
There was a misdirect. There's all that Kirby stuff, but then just like, the just like the superhero side of the equation. You get like everybody gets a little room to breathe. The Flash, like his, like, you know, I liked him so much better in this than in like I was very annoyed with him in the previous version, and then in this it's like he's great. Like I'm fully on board. And then Cyborg, you know, it's like Cyborg was like barely in the first version of Justice League, and then in this it's like he's like the main character.
It's so awesome.
Yeah,
and I love his like you know, his weaponry and everything. I like whenever Superman shows up. He's like, it's my fail-safe safety. It's my security device, and he can't like stop himself from like firing a rocket at Superman. And yeah, you mentioned the Flash too.
Yeah, here he is.
Only in movies too. He's like a social outcast with no friends, but I think he's got his bone structure is like the golden ratio. He has like high cheekbones. He's like, I have no friends, but I look like a male model.
Well, yeah, he kind of reminds me of like French Stewart fused with Jimmy Fallon.
Last time I saw him, he was in like The Perks of Being a Wallflower. I can't remember the actor's name.
Yeah, and he, like I was so just kind of annoyed by him in the other Justice League, and then in this one he gets like a full arc. You know, he's got like his character. The introduction of his character is really great, and like I hated his costume in like the first time I saw, you know, when I saw the original Justice League. I hated his how it's like it's the Flash costume, but it's like held together with rubber bands. Like it was, but in this it's like
looks cool.
Yeah, like I don't mind. Like I think that's the difference of having like, you know, making the character kind of like engaging.
I'm still losing over the French Stewart. I love a good French Stewart reference.
Yeah, it's like, get me a French Stewart and Jimmy Fallon type. Oh, we got the perfect guy right here.
Yeah, he's like, what a loser. He's like, I feel so... Why are you so down in the dumps? He's like, I just got dropped by Ford Modeling.
I lost all my friends in a horrible modeling accident. Like, he lost all his... That's why he's so alone. He lost all his friends the same way Zoolander did when they, like, all set themselves on fire.
I lit a gasoline fight. He's like, I lost all my friends in a catwalk collapse. Oh, I'm so sorry, construction catwalk. He's like, no, it was at Milan or whatever.
The length of this movie really helps, and that was kind of like an important development in like the history of comics too, because comic books kind of had this format where they'd be like 8 pages, and then it would be another story in, you know, another 8 pages or 4 pages or 7, like, or 12 pages, like, oh, a really long story is like 12 pages. But it wasn't until, you know, comics started kind of consistently being, you know, the full 20 pages or whatever, and then having continued stories where you know, and Jack Kirby was a pioneer of this. It wasn't until then that like superhero comics kind of like became something else. You know, they kind of had like more room to breathe and develop. It wasn't like just these quick, you know, resolutions. And like same with this, it's like add some length to it, add some time to let things develop, and it becomes something else.
Great. Some of my favorite scenes in the movie are with another Zack Snyder player, Dr. Manhattan himself, Billy Crudup, the Flash's dad who's in prison. I thought those were like pretty good scenes. You
know, maybe Dr. Manhattan is the Flash's father.
Oh my God!
It's kind of a little sad. It's kind of like a demotion where it's like, okay, he was one of the superheroes in the last movie. Now he's a superhero's dad.
Yeah,
it's like when John Schneider. Bo Duke is, you know, Superman's dad. Like, he's Pa Kent.
Pa Kent.
You know?
Or, the director has to keep reminding him, like, we were going to cast Coy and Vance or whatever. He's like...
and then, you know, in the Snyderverse, you know, Kevin Costner is you know, Pa Kent. And it's, you can kind of imagine, like, you know, all the different, you know, it's like, oh, if they would have gotten a... you know, like a Superman series going, like after the Christopher Reeve one, maybe Kevin Costner would have been Superman. You know, like that kind of stuff. Like Cyborg, like his character is just like so like central to this, and just going back to kind of the connections to like the Superpowers Saturday morning cartoons, it was kind of like you had like a couple of like young characters in the Justice League, and one of them was Cyborg, and that was my introduction to the character. Cyborg was in the Saturday morning cartoon, and he just seemed so cool and like this breath of fresh air, and seemed more like where like Superman and Batman and all them they're from, you know, the 30s and 40s, and they feel a little more like, you know, your grandfather's superheroes. But then, you know, Cyborg felt a little more recent because he was like a character from the 80s, and, you know, had that kind of 80s feel. You know, he's kind of like Terminator.
Oh,
and, you know,
so awesome! And the glowing red eye.
yeah,
I love
like
it.
it just felt a little more current, and he kind of plays a similar role in here. He's kind of like, you know, the young guy, and then the Flash. In the Saturday morning cartoon, the sort of equivalent to the Flash in this would have been Firestorm. Firestorm was like the other kind of like young kid who's just kind of learning to be a superhero, and sort of comes in. But I think that would probably be like a couple obscure characters too many to have like Firestorm in here instead of the Flash. You gotta
have the Flash.
Yeah, you gotta have somebody who's a little more classic.
One of the first superhero things I ever watched was the Flash television show.
Yeah.
And me and my buddy Colin, we had a similar experience as one of the first like scary, traumatic like things was from the Flash show.
Yeah.
Where I think the bad guy, I can't remember the villain on the show.
Mark Hamill as the,
oh my
the
god,
funster,
yes, the funster,
the
trickster,
yeah.
trickster, oh my god. It was the trickster, put a guy backwards on a motorcycle, and he had these bombs, they were like, it was like a sphere filled with like green liquid, and he put them on, you twisted it to like ignite it, put it on, and he like went through a doorway and exploded. And I was like scared, I don't know, like it scared the shit out of me. That was one of the first like early superhero things. So like the Flash, even though I never like kept up with it, I always had like a soft spot for the Flash. Mm-hmm. Except the Flash, on that show, he you know, his face wasn't symmetrical or anything.
You're right. Yeah, he had an asymmetrical face. That was before they figured out that like you can't have superheroes with asymmetrical faces.
Yeah.
Batman versus Superman. Superman dies at the end, and so in this one, you know, Superman's dead, and in this version, you really feel Superman's absence. Like, you know, you just kind of see him like briefly at the beginning, and then you don't see him anymore, and you see like it feels like the world's in mourning, and then Lois is specifically mourning, and you're just like, it's like you just feel it. You're like, man, Superman's not there, and that was not an element of the original version of Justice League. And it's a little ironic because they you know, they had all those like reshoots in the original one where they had to get Henry Cavill, and they had to digitally remove his mustache.
I was like, where was so he had the mustache for maybe a Mission Impossible, and I couldn't remember, was it, so the Snyder cut he showed up on set with like a caterpillar?
Not the Snyder cut, the previous, the like theatrical cut. They wanted to do some reshoots to kind of like lighten things up, make it sunnier, and also like I think like maybe even the very first scene in the original theatrical version was like, it was like footage from somebody's phone or whatever of like Superman, you know, meeting some kids and being real, and that was like, you know, where like you have the like you see the absence of a mustache, like and it's all you can look at. You just see all this weird stuff going on here, and it's like, and then the rest of the movie you're like distracted by, and so that was I feel like that was kind of added to make you feel like, okay, why is everybody so upset about Superman? Like we barely got to know him. Let's show what the world lost. Let's show Superman being this like cheerful guy who everybody loves, and now he's gone, and it's poignant. You're seeing this old footage of him, and he's not there anymore. But it kind of had the opposite effect. Like you didn't feel his absence. Where here, like you're not seeing him. You know, you're not, other than that brief shot. You're not seeing him at all, and so there's like a Superman vacuum.
Yes.
You know, and so you do feel, you know, the loss.
When I'm watching this, whenever Amy Adams is visiting, like bringing the coffee to the cops stuff, and with Snyder's music cues, I was like, I'm sure a lump forming in my throat in the freaking Snyder cut. I was like, I'm getting kind of like,
it's
like affecting me.
Yeah, it worked. Like it really did. It did. Like I feel like it did what, you know, what he was intending to do.
And when it comes to monuments for like giant tragedies, pretty tasteful. Superman is gone. Like
they had a Superman statue that got like trashed in Batman versus Superman. So like you're looking at the wreckage, and so it looks almost like a modern art kind of thing of like, oh yeah, it's a tribute to Superman with this like smashed Superman
I was like
face,
pretty
you know?
tasteful.
We got the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Oh yeah, I love it.
Outfits.
The black and gold.
Yeah.
Nice product placement.
Not
Under Armour.
Not the first time there's been like a sort of quasi Pittsburgh Steelers in a DC Superman movie, because you got that, you know, in the Dark Knight Rises.
It's like, I will never get over the fact that what Bane did to Heinz Field, he defaced.
Yeah, that was
Bane, that bastard.
Too much. Yeah, and it was it was like the Gotham boat riding robbers or something. You know? The Gotham swashbucklers with eye patches.
The Gotham Permani sandwiches. The Pittsburgh parking chairs.
So they have, like, you're feeling the loss of Superman through the whole, and then the whole plot is about like, oh, we need Superman to, like, you know, we need to bring Superman back so we can fight this thing, and like Superman is like withheld for a very long time, for like, you know, maybe 3.5 hours of screen time. And it is kind of like when you're doing like a Justice League story, you know, in the old days in the comics, they would always have to try to find like creative ways of getting Superman out of the picture, because like your story's over. You don't need any of these other guys when you have Superman there. So it is kind of like, you know, we got to keep Superman. So we have a perfect way to keep Superman out of the picture while we develop like a need for these other characters.
It was, he was dead in his. They had to dig him up, exhume his body, and then I loved how the Flash had to like run close to like the speed of light to like get that electrical charge.
Yeah, and
Batman was like 1.21 gigawatts.
Yeah,
gigawatts.
And when they're digging up Superman, it's like the scene from Goodfellas.
Oh
when
my god! Yeah, he had like the Flash is like stabbing somebody in the trunk. Then they go and eat spaghetti.
And yeah, you were saying about like the stuff with the Flash, like they set up the whole thing like really well too, where it's like, you know, he has to, like, there's various points where he has to like run super fast to get some kind of energy going or whatever, and then there's like a point where he's running so fast things start to slow down.
I was like, oh man.
Yeah, it was really nice.
I was getting choked up for some reason during that part.
Yeah, and then they slow down, and then they start running in reverse, and just for like a couple seconds, and then it's like back to the normal flow of things.
Yeah.
But it's like that really set it up nicely for like the end when he's like turns back time and all that stuff, and see like really great, like a really great sequence, just kind of seeing, you know, like Superman gets vaporized. You know, you see Superman get vaporized, like unvaporized, you know, sort of come back together. Yeah, Doomsday, who was, you know, like the did you have that comic when you were a kid?
Oh, that was
the death of Superman.
Yeah, that was like another one where I was like, it felt like a big deal. Like everywhere it was like the death of Superman. And then I think I checked out from the public library. It was like the like a novelization. It had like the Superman logo, but it was like bleeding or something.
Yeah. They did like a novel. Like that was, you know, just in comics history, they talk about like, oh, that's the comic that like killed the comic industry or whatever. But yeah, it was just one of those things. It was just another storyline. They were like, oh, how about we do this story? Like, wouldn't it be cool if we did this? And then it like succeeded beyond anybody's wildest dreams. Like the public bought into it to such an unexpected degree. They never could have imagined. Like and then it was like that success is what destroyed it, because it was like people bought into it so much that like a couple months later when Superman comes back, like that was always part of the plan. When he comes back, it's like, wait, you said he died. What's going on here?
Whatever they were trying to do, it worked when it reached like a little kid, and like I even knew it was a huge deal, and I wasn't even on the inside of like comics or anything.
Yeah,
a little kid, I was like, wow, this is big, and then I was like, if they can kill Superman, what Superman's like vulnerable. I was like, I can't believe it.
I'm surprised people like continue to fall for this stuff, but I guess it's like because it's like after that happened, it's like, okay, you're never getting me again. But it's like it's happened a bunch of times where it's like, okay, now we're killing this character, and then invariably there are news stories that are like, what's the world coming to? They killed Batman, or they killed, you know, whatever, and you know, and then they come back like a month later or like one of them was like, there was this comic, Final Crisis, where Batman dies, and then I think he even like comes back like by the end of the issue or whatever. But like they still had the news stories, and there were still people. You know, there was like a guy who was like 80 years old. It was like, I've been reading Batman since I was, since he first came out. And
they do an article on it. They're like, how dare you kill Batman? And then they're like, editor's note: we didn't finish the issue. We finished it. Batman is alive as well.
And at the time, it was kind of like, there was talk in in the fan press or whatever of like, hey, is this a gimmick, or is this like a permanent thing? And then some people were like, okay, if it is permanent, well, good on them, because this character's a million years old. Let's freshen it up a little. Maybe introduce somebody else who's Superman that's not Clark Kent or whatever.
I thought Doomsday looked cool as hell too.
Yeah, it was a good visual. That and the build up is kind of cool too, because like in the comic, he's like this. He's in a very Kirby-esque way. He's kind of like in this jumpsuit or whatever, where like you can't see anything. You can't see what he is. He's just this mystery character. The outfit gets ripped up, and then all of a sudden you see like this like crazy look that you've like never seen before.
Cyborg's putting money in the
he becomes
ATM.
like Robin Hood or whatever, and doing like little GoFundMes for like everybody.
Yeah. I like those like the Steppenwolf's henchmen. They're like the little like flying monkeys.
Yeah, they're called parademons.
Parademons.
And they're straight out of Kirby, like
love it.
Parademons.
They get to fight with the Justice League. Like there's a lot of like close up battles. Mm-hmm. They're like hand to hand, a lot of hand to hand stuff. I like. They look so awesome. Yeah,
they are pretty cool. Yeah, just like another Jack Kirby thing. And the visual isn't like, knowing the Jack Kirby stuff. The visual, like with those kind of like glowing eyes and stuff, it's not too far from the source.
They get stabbed with like a trident, or like Batman putting himself in harm's way all the time. I love he has these awesome vehicles, and then like I like how after just a few shots they immediately get destroyed or something. Mm-hmm. I love it. And
he's got an unlimited budget.
I know. He's like, my superpower is being rich.
Yeah, kind of like this movie where it's like, my superpower is I can get $70 million at the drop of a hat. Like, I'm a huge Batman fan and stuff, and like he, of the characters in here, he's one of the more like beloved. But like, it's kind of like I wasn't that into that. Like it kind of didn't matter to me that Batman, like when Batman shows up, there's kind of like a weird, like, because of his design in this, he's got like these very like sort of small points, and so there's all these shots where like it's like a shot from below and stuff where like you only see one of his horns.
Oh yeah.
So he looks kind of weird. He looks kind of like Bob's Big Boy or something. When you just see one horn, it doesn't look.
He like, and then.
Or like alfalfa.
He's got like the you're right, like a low angle shot of like under his mask, and it felt like the cow was like coming up to here, so it was like his regular nose is like sticking out.
Yeah, like it's maybe like the least impressive Batman that I've ever seen in a Batman movie. But again, it's like when the story works, like it doesn't matter. Like also, so like Zack Snyder also released like a black and white version of this.
Oh, I did see that. I haven't watched that one yet.
I mean, it's to me, it's like, isn't this movie black and white already?
You're
like,
right. It is.
The saturation, the color saturation is so down. Like, and especially since, like sort of by design, some of the follow-ups to this that we've seen, like Aquaman and like Wonder Woman, the filmmakers like amped up the color. So like Aquaman, by the end of the Aquaman movie, he's wearing like the bright orange and green of like the comics, and then Wonder Woman 2 is like the red, white, and blue, and then in this it's like brown, gray, and beige, and
I am gonna watch. You know what? I might watch that to put a bow on this.
The black and white version. Yeah.
There's this thing I'm gonna send you too. Steven Soderbergh, like a couple years ago, he did apparently like Indiana Jones was they lit it or shot it so that it would look awesome in black and white, mm-hmm. and he did a silent version of Indiana Jones and took the color out.
Okay, I heard about this. Yeah,
and he just to like show how awesome it is with mm-hmm. even with no like dialogue, it's mm-hmm. still like thrilling. It's pretty great. He posted it on his like website.
I'd love to see that because I've seen like these videos where they show you like kind of like shot by shot all the things that they were referencing in Raider, where it's like, okay, here's King Solomon's Mines, here's this, here's that, like here's all these shots. So it would be interesting because it's all these like old black and white movies. So it'd be kind of cool to see like Raiders as an old black and white movie.
I still haven't seen the one that you mentioned too. During
with the kids.
The kids. Yeah. I really want to see that.
Yeah,
so
that's
bad.
pretty awesome.
Oh, the crash test dummy. That's another thing that was I love from the '90s too. The crash test dummies. They need to bring those back.
We are the dummies strutting on through, busting our heads just for you. Dude, the Super Bowl shuffle. We're talking about like the erased mustache
God.
Of Henry Cavill. And that was like so distracting to me. Like when I wish that nobody had like told me about that before I saw the movie, because it was all I could see. But then I thought like, well, what if I didn't know about it? Would I have just been generally weirded out by the movie and just not been able to?
You're like. Something's driving me to the point of madness.
Because it would just look so, and it's all I could look at. And then in this movie, when Superman shows up, it's like all I could do is look at his mouth, and I'm like, is that really his mouth? Is that? And I wasn't 100% convinced that it was really his mouth. And then and it took me, and I'm like, I just gotta go with it, just go accept it. And then afterwards, I kind of looked it up and saw that no, like it's him. There's no deleted mustache footage at all in the Snyder cut, but
what a tragedy too when somebody has like a delicious like mustache that it's being taken out of this world.
That's what people were saying. It's like, well, then I guess Superman has a mustache. Like, wouldn't that be, So, they've made more radical changes to these superhero movies. Why not a mustache Superman? Who cares?
Who cares?
Superman had a mullet for a while. Why can't he have a mustache?
He has a mustache and mullet. The double M.
Danny McBride is Superman.
They're like Superman. It's like no one has ever had a perm on Krypton or whatever. Henry Cavill was born like a week or two before me. Okay, and I'm like. I look like a pile of dirty laundry. Oh yeah, he's like a fucking specimen. So I think this is the episode where fans, this is where I start taking steroids.
So you and him are practically the same age. Like, don't you feel like he's like older than you and like an authority more, and like he could be your dad, or like he's more experienced. Yes! He knows the world more, and you're just a child. Like, doesn't it feel that?
That's what I was like.
Because I feel kind of that way of like he's a grown up and I'm a kid, and I'm older than him. Yeah. Just like, what have I done with my life? That he's my age.
He has people use his abs to like clean their laundry on.
Yeah, and he's doing a lot of like shirtless. Superman,
at one point I was like, put on a goddamn shirt, Superman.
It's an interesting look for Superman. Like, he shows up with like no shoes or socks, no shirt, and like long pants.
He's wearing purple pants with the bottoms ripped open. He's
got the Hulk outfit.
Oh, and Jeremy Irons, great Alfred. Mm-hmm. Like, I like how he isn't wearing a butler suit at all. He's wearing, very like LL Bean stuff, and then
it's another guy where it's like, I should have played Batman back in the 80s.
Yeah, I would have loved it. Master Wayne, tattoo removal for that gaudy phoenix on the entirety of your back. He sees like Batman cleaning up after the battle, and he's like, Master Wayne, I didn't know you were having a midlife crisis. A full back phoenix.
That Michael Caine. Alfred is still so fresh.
I know. He's like a ruby the size of a grapefruit. Yeah, and he's like, I work for Alfred.
No, this is the DC universe. This is a universe where everybody's a supermodel.
Oh yeah.
Alfred's just an old supermodel.
Yeah, he's like, I'm a real loser. It's like, people say the golden ratio matches up perfectly to my facial bone structure. It's like the guy at the hot dogs. There was a hot dog stand in this. Mm-hmm. Was that Snyder's callback to
the
Superman Lives?
Superman Lives. Yeah, just like, man, this movie it just like works, and like this is just where this stuff's at now. It's like kind of streaming is just kind of what it is now. Like, when this movie was made, it was a very different landscape, and it's like, no, it's a movie, it's got to be under a certain amount of time. Now it's like people are accustomed to consuming, like especially consuming like superhero stuff. They're accustomed to consuming it at home in these like you know, these episodes where like where one ends, the next one begins. If you want to sit down and watch this like 12-hour thing all at once, you can, or if you want to watch it in installments. So it's like this is just how these things are going to be, and they kind of work better in this format. Watchmen, you know, Zack Snyder's Watchmen. I can only imagine if it had, because that's one of the things they talk about with Watchmen is that this would work better as like a prestige series, you know, like an HBO series, which, you know, they did a Watchmen HBO, but it wasn't an adaptation. It was all new, but like to sort of adapt the original Watchmen and give it this kind of room to breathe would have been a different thing.
Yeah, with like the chapter headings be like, I'm gonna watch 2/5 of the Snyder cut.
Mm-hmm. I would have gladly sat down and watched the whole thing from start to finish. It's just like, you know, for various reasons, I just didn't kind of have the time. Like it just didn't work.
I know,
so I wanted to watch it so bad, and so I just kind of like, you know, fit in like as much as I could to kind of like watch a little. So I did end up watching it in I think like 3 installments. And I was, you know, on the edge of my seat and like
it's awesome.
And I was, you know, I was thinking about it like all day while I'm waiting to, you know,
watch the next.
Yeah, carve out some time where I can, you know, watch the next bit.
It blows the original its original incarnation out of the water.
Yeah, it's almost like, you know, you go on HBO Max and like the original version is only there so you can compare it and be like
see this giant turd.
It just made no sense. Like it was just a stupid movie. It was so dumb. And then this is like, it's very thorough. Like you get a full understanding of what's going on, and groundwork is laid, and things are paid off, and you get to just kind of live in this world, you know.
They're at Skynet.
Yeah, it's kind of. This is Star Labs, and then this is Ryan Choi, who's going to go on to be the Atom. So it's like they're already planting the seeds for like, you know, the other, like for you know, Justice League Part 2 when everybody else.
What's the hashtag that I see trending? It's like restore the Snyder verse.
Well, I mean, I guess the idea is that, okay, this thing came out. It's an artistic success. It's a critical success. It's like, yes, the world has responded very favorably to this Snyder cut. And I mean, I don't know how this stuff works, because it's like, I mean, it got me to get HBO Max. I didn't have HBO Max. I got it specifically to watch this, and now I'm like in love with HBO Max. It's probably my favorite streaming.
I love it. I can't wait to watch Godzilla vs. Kong.
Yeah, love watching all the Godzilla stuff. Like how many people did the same thing. Like I don't know the economics of it, but like, you know, and since it hasn't come out in the theater, but to me, like I get the sense that this was a huge hit.
Yeah, me too.
So yeah, I guess the idea of that is like, okay, this thing came out, it's awesome, and the whole thing, as complete as it is, it does tease things. It sort of tees up like, you know, a sequel and what happens next, and the world has given a thumbs up to this version of things, so let's continue where this left off and like see what would have come next and build off of this. But it's kind of weird because it's like, well, sequels have already come. Like there's already been an Aquaman. There's already been 2 Wonder Womans. There's, you know, that take. So it's like, it's kind of a weird, you know, putting the genie back in the bottle to kind of be like, okay, let's use this as the starting point for you know, where the DC movies go from now on. And like, I don't, you know, from what I understand, Zack Snyder is kind of like, hey, I did this and I'm done. I'm definitely ready to move on. So it's like I'm happy to accept it as it is. I mean, I would love to see follow-ups and see where it goes, and especially with like the Kirby stuff, you know, like the New God stuff. I'd love to see like, you know, that all-out, you know, invasion.
Oh my God, that would be amazing. And I'm always excited to see what Zack Snyder's up to.
To see like J.K. Simmons as Commissioner Gordon. It's like, you know,
was that J. Jonah Jameson and
that's pretty sweet. That, I mean, that like, you know,
what a resume.
Mm-hmm. If J.J. Abrams can direct a Star Trek and a Star Wars, why can't J.K. Simmons play J. Jonah Jameson and Commissioner Gordon?
What a world we live in.
Mm-hmm.
Master Wayne, it's like, I've got all the tech figured out and enrolled you in curves.
You know, you can't have a superhero team movie and have it come in under, you know, like a certain amount of time, like of hours. Like you need, it's just like, just don't do them if you're not gonna give it time to like let let the characters like all
The
be a
ori-
team. You know.
The original runtime before the 2-hour original version was like 84 minutes. They're like, well, here we go.
Yeah, we got this. All you need to know.
Oh, and then Willem Dafoe, he's Green Goblin, and
Mer somebody. Yes,
Merman.
I'm not too well versed in all this like Aquaman stuff.
He was like
Was he like Mermaster or King?
The
something?
Submersible.
The submersible. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got like the Green Goblin mask on. He's like,
This is like, like the for the Donner cut, like there's that one scene at the beginning where like Lois says like, I know you're Superman at the Daily Planet. She jumps out a window to prove that Clark Kent is Superman. It's like the best scene in like the whole series, and it's on the cutting room floor. And I can imagine how like angry the actors were. That's like, whatever happened to that like awesome scene we did. And same with this. It's like, there's people who go from having a cameo to being like fully, have a full like journey, and it's like, how could you have not been your blood boiling when you saw that movie come out? And you're like, well, what happened to this and this and this and this and that?
That's why.
And all that time I was in that suit with all those ping pong balls on me.
Yeah, he's like, I missed my brother's wedding, and like.
Yeah, for this, like
for
I'm barely in this.
Tarantino, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. You got James Marsden's Burt Reynolds. Can't wait to see that one of these days.
Yeah, step and repeat.
He's like, the total. We're going to be doing that pretty soon for the Recallies.
The Recallies. We're going to have our step and repeat.
Step and repeat.
Award season culminates with the Recallies.
The Recallies. We've got our tuxes pressed.
Mm-hmm.
Tom
rented,
Ford rented tuxes.
Rented tuxes.
Tom Ford tuxes.
Yeah, we're not putting on airs. We didn't buy our tuxes.
Yeah. It's going to be exciting.
This is like a coherent. It went from being this like weird movie, uneven, kind of dumb movie, to being, this like coherent vision. Whether you like it or not. I mean, I like it, but whether you like it or not, it is a coherent vision. I was recently watching like the Linda Carter Wonder Woman from the 70s. Like I got the season 1 of it and just like been loving it. But like, it's kind of cool having just recently seen that and then seeing this, where it's like when Wonder Woman shows up, like it's the same. They do the same thing in the old show, where it's like somebody shoots at her and she's like,
I love it.
And then they shoot again. It's like, and then somebody comes in and pulls out a machine gun and is like, oh, and then it's like, she's in trouble now, and then she's like, and it's like fast forward, like
God,
straight out of the 70s show, and then to see it see the cool, slow motion version of it in this.
I love a good
the Zack Snyder version.
Gauntlet deflection.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on too. I think Batman has some good gauntlet like absorptions in this.
It's a motif.
I love it.
That Aquaman movie, it was just so odd, and some of it was so ridiculous and laughable. But I had the time of my life.
It was a blast.
Yeah, it was.
I was on board with it.
It wasn't like watching it and being like, this is a stupid movie. It was like I was on board. Like the stupid stuff was cool, and then the cool stuff was cool, and
And I loved the '80s action film Stinger, like the guitar stings.
Yeah,
and stuff.
The characters should have had mullets.
Yes,
like it had mullet sound effects and music.
I want to have the He was like, I'm too old for this shit. I want to have Kurt Russell's haircut from like Tango and Cash.
Yeah, it had like a Kurt Russell feel. It had a Jean-Claude Van Damme feel. It had a Patrick Swayze feel to it.
We'll have to do our Roadhouse episode. Mm-hmm. Oh my god!
Yeah, it was like a Roadhouse superhero kind of thing. What a winning combo!
He's Snyder cut.
Snyder cut. It's
how did
Snyder... it's an epic. Like
it really is.
It's going into that superhero hall of fame of like great epic things, and like
it goes down smooth.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like I couldn't believe I wasn't bored with it. It was like entertaining all the way through. Like
Yeah, and like the Justice League, like they deserve something. Like, see, this is where it becomes like a seed of doom. Why? And if you watch like the old cartoon, it's like basically that visual.
That's awesome.
And Jack Kirby drew a superpowers comic book miniseries that was the Seeds of Doom story, and he drew those seeds. You know.
That's so awesome.
When I did superpowers, my plan for superpowers was to do basically like this, do another do like my rendition of that sort of classic, you know, Saturday morning superpowers thing of like it's the Justice League versus the New Gods, you know, and I was gonna have the Seeds of Doom. I was gonna call them the Dark Seeds. They're gonna be called Dark Seeds, and yeah, these seeds that and that you know, like four-armed terrors, like these monsters would kind of grow out of them, and like it's kind of like a reference that like a lot of people pronounce Darkseid's name as Darkseid because it's spelled Darkseid, and I never got to do like that. I got to put a tiny bit of like my sort of like new god, because that was my concept going into superpowers. Was like, okay, I'm gonna do superpowers. I'm gonna do like this really like souped up version of this story that like Jack Kirby worked on of like the Super Friends versus the New Gods, and I was gonna really go for it, and you know I was just kind of told that I can't, like I'm not allowed to do that, and so I did other stuff.
The superpowers are so good.
Thanks.
Oh my dear Lord! Like I need a T-shirt with BMX Batgirl on it.
Yeah, I had so much fun with that series, and then like after I did sort of my initial arc, my initial like 6 issues, they're like, okay, what's next? What's the next 6 issues? And I thought, you know what? Like it was the first comic I'd ever done with DC, so it's like, okay, I feel like I kind of had to prove myself, and maybe they didn't want to hand me the Justice League and the New Gods as this like, you know, rookie or whatever in their eyes, because it was my first thing with them. But it's like, now that I've shown what I can do, now it's time. So and it, like all that kind of New Gods and Justice League stuff, I was gonna save that for like season 3 of Superpowers. So like season 2 was gonna be like some other stuff, and then it was all gonna culminate in this like New Godsy Justice League thing. But I thought, you know what, let me go for it. I'm gonna push it. I'm gonna pitch that. I'm gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna make season 3 season 2. I'm gonna move it up. Like get the best stuff up front, and like this is the time to do it. They're gonna be ready for it. So I pitched season 3, and it was like I pitched it as season 2. I pitched, okay, it's gonna be like, you know, Darkseid and all his guys, they're invading Earth, and then you know, the Super Friends are gonna fight and resist, and like Darkseid's gonna like destroy Metropolis. He's gonna he's gonna hold the Daily Planet building siege, and like Superman and all his friends and stuff are gonna have to take refuge in the Daily Planet. The Daily Planet's gonna get set fire, and like the big planet atop is gonna be on fire too.
Oh my God.
And Superman's gonna like throw it down onto like Steppenwolf, and Steppenwolf's gonna be like riding a dragon and like all this crazy stuff. And then the Daily Planet's gonna like burn down, and then that like little red helicopter that they had like the little corgi toy of, you know, like they're gonna be flying. It's gonna be like the last helicopter out of Vietnam or whatever. They're gonna be flying out of there, and they're gonna be like, you know, like, oh, poor, you know, Perry White, he lost, you know, the Daily Planet today, and then they're like, oh, poor Superman, this is his second time losing a planet. And then they're gonna go to like the Hall of Justice. And like the Hall of Justice has become like this like prison for superheroes, because there's gonna be all this like political stuff going on where and Glorious Godfrey is going to start this like anti-superhero movement. They're all going to be like held prisoner inside the Hall of Justice. Going to retreat to blah blah blah. There's going to be this big and like by the end of it, you know, like, and then Metropolis is just going to be destroyed, and everybody's going to have to like retreat to Gotham, and Gotham is like the cemetery city of like the DC universe. But Batman, it's going to be almost like Afghanistan or something. It's like. And like Batman has like he has a plan for everything. So years and years ago he set up like all these like booby traps and all this kind of like fallback stuff all through Gotham. So it's like if any invading army ever tried to take Gotham, they would face this like it's like this fortune like they'd be stepping into a landmine basically trying to take off, and Batman's been prepared for this. So that's like the fallback for like everybody who's like fleeing Metropolis, all the superheroes and stuff, and regular people. They fall back to Gotham, and they have sort of like humanity's last stand against Darkseid and his minions, and then they win. They like successfully repel Darkseid and all this stuff, and then Batman's like, okay, like this was hard, but like we stood up to Darkseid and we repelled him, and now we just got to like move on with our lives. We got to rebuild. We got to undo the damage that Darkseid did, and we need to rebuild. And then Superman's like, fuck that. He's like, we're going to Apocalypse and we're going to kick some unholy ass. And so then they gather up this like big army, and then they go through the boom tube, and they're going through the boom tube, and they're like, boom tube, it's supposed to be like instantaneous travel. Why is it taking so long? And it's like, that's just how far away Apocalypse is. So they all go, and then it's this like big, like massive battle on Apocalypse, and they're like, like Star Wars or something.
Oh my God.
And it's like, and then they Orion and Darkseid have like their last battle going on while all this this whole invasion of Apocalypse is going on, and then they kill Darkseid, like he almost like Hitler at the end of Inglourious Bastards. They like fill him full of holes, and then all those holes, all this like Omega effect energy starts like coming out of Darkseid's face and body, like just this like laser light is going in every direction, and it blows up the whole planet. It's kind of like blowing up the Death Star or whatever. Like they blow up Apocalypse. Nice. And then Mr. Miracle and the Super Friends, they get all the Hunger Dogs. They get all the people of Apocalypse like off the planet via boom tube, and then they end up on New Genesis and in Supertown, and Mr. Miracle's like, welcome to my father's gardens, and you're gonna have a new life here on New Genesis, and all this kind of, so it was this like whole developed thing, and looking at it now, it kind of runs parallel to this movie, but again, like with like my spin and kind of like a different skewed view.
Sounds so damn good. Like, oh my God.
And then even like recently they came out with like a movie, an animated movie where it kind of starts out with like kind of like a similar thing of like Superman saying like, we gotta go to Apocalypse, we gotta take the battle to Darkseid and whatever, and but like like my pitch like predates all this stuff, and so I sent the pitch in, so proud of it, and then I got fired. They're like, kind of like, yeah, we're not doing this, you're fired. So
they were like, but we're still going to use your pitch.
Yeah, I'm not saying that. I mean, it's not like parallel thinking or whatever. I'm not saying that.
Well, we like it,
but but yeah, like I got and it was like, oh, I mean, I could do something else. Like I don't have to do that. I just thought you might like that. Like this, I want to do the bet. Like I got this really cool idea I want to do, and let's do it. But if you don't like that, I gotta. But it's like no, it was so it was done. That was the end of superpowers. Fine, whatever.
I love those superpowers.
But so like I've done a considerable amount of work on like I have pages and pages and pages and pages of like stuff I never got around to in superpowers, and it's kind of burning a hole in my pocket a little bit.
Well, the Snyder cut was released. Looks like there's another cut that needs released. The Scioli cut. Okay,
the Scioli cut. Okay, all I need is $70 million, and I can then I'll be able to produce the finished Scioli.
Snyder,
cut.
Are you listening?
Yeah, Warner's, you coughed up $70 million for this. Maybe you could cough up $70 million. I could give you the Scioli
another
cut.
Snyder cut. It's like Snyder of Berlin. Are you listening?
Yeah, free pretzels for. But yeah, so that was like, I mean, that's my brush with these characters. And I got to do it like a tiny bit, like a little bit. Of that stuff made its way into the final
so
version.
Good, Tom.
Thanks. I mean, yeah, it's amazing up here, and in my sketchbook. Probably can't talk about specifics now, but I am currently working with DC Comics on a like Jack Kirby, New Gods, fourth world related thing. Not don't want to go into any detail, but like I am doing something with that. So it's
the Total
it's pretty
Recall
cool.
Viewers are getting
be
a
on the
little taste.
You want to see the superheroes doing their thing, and you want to see as much of that as possible. So you do get some stuff. You get the kind of sewer stuff, and Aquaman gets to shine, and
the Gotham Harbor's like leaking into the sewer, and I love Batman's beat up vehicles.
Yeah, I liked the I liked the idea that Zack Snyder introduces. He introduced it in Batman versus Superman, of that like Metropolis and Gotham are like the twin cities. Like there's just like a small body of water between them. Like they're right next. Like I like that idea, and that was I brought that into my superpowers thing of like, oh yeah, you know like Metropolis gets trashed, so then you just like go across the bridge, and now you're at or ride the ferry or whatever.
It shows
you're in Gotham.
Superman is like flying out of like St. Paul, Minnesota. It's like Batman's based in Minneapolis.
What do you say? Thumbs up or thumbs down to this?
I give it 2 bats up, or two thumbs up.
I give it 2 mother boxes up, or 2.
I give 2
boom tubes up.
2 boom tubes up. I give it 2
now
2 evaporating flash shoes up.
Now the thing is, the 2 thumbs up thing, it was 2 different guys each giving 1 thumb. So I don't think we can like individually give 2 thumbs. So I got to give like one Calabac thumb up, one extra thumb up. Because of the extra thumbs and extra fingers that Jack Kirby's New Gods, apocalyptic New Gods, have in this.
I give it
movie.
1 fat stack of Bruce Wayne cash up.
I like the virtual cash that.
Oh yeah, I love that on the ATM.
You've been watching the Zack Snyder cut Justice League episode of Total Recall. I'm Tom Scioli, author of Jack Kirby: The Epic Life of the King of Comics, and Fantastic Four Grand Design. And Superpowers. Check it out if you haven't. You get to see a little taste of me playing sort of tangentially with Jack Kirby's New Gods universe and some superhero stuff.
Truly great stuff.
Thanks.
And I'm Matt Zeoli.
You can follow me on Twitter at Tom Scioli. Please check out my Patreon at patreon.com. Just search my name, Tom Scioli, when you're there. And you can follow me on Instagram at Tom_Scioli.
You can follow me on Instagram at cinema_tomb.
Okay, we'll see you later. Many happy returns. Superman, it's good to see you back. You never looked better.
There was my axe. There was a story I read somewhere where like when George Clooney was like Batman, he like he was at a party or something with Michael Keaton was there. He's like came up behind him and was like, guess who? I'm joining the Brotherhood. And he's like, Michael Keaton's like, what the hell are you talking about? Like he's like, I'm part of the Batman family.
Michael Keaton didn't even remember he had played Batman.
Mr. Mom is Superman.
I'm glad you brought up George Clooney, because that Ben Affleck's Batman, it reminds me of the George Clooney Batman.
It does.
And it kind of shows you how it could have played George Clooney's Batman could have played very differently in a different movie, in a movie that wasn't quite as whatever that George Clooney Batman was.
Batman stuffing his bat suit, stuffing his codpiece put a sock in his codpiece.
Man, I mean, Batman Forever was a huge hit when it came out. The Val Kilmer one was a huge hit. And well regarded at the time, and then over time it kind of Schumacher Batman, blah blah blah. But I've watched that one recently, the Batman Forever, and very weirder than I remember, but also better than I remember.
Yeah.
And I can understand why some people would hold it dear, because it is very unique.
Yeah, and I like Val Kilmer as Batman.
Yeah, he did a good job, and again, sort of the Snyder cut. There's a couple scenes and a subplot that kind of got removed from Batman Forever.
I didn't know
that kind
that.
of does amp it up,
Wow.
would have kind of amped up the tone and made things make a little more sense. But then Batman and Robin, the George Clooney one, like nobody involved like is willing to go to bat for that one. You know, they all are like, yeah, I don't know what we did with that one.
Batman Forever also gave us Hold Me, Throw Me, Kiss Me, Kill Me, and Kiss from a Rose.
Yeah, great. Yeah, what a great 1-2 punch of music.
Another kiss from a rose.
That's kind of what made me want to revisit Batman Forever. Was like I was just kind of thinking about that song "Kissed by a Rose," and it kind of, you know, it got me in the mood.
Yeah,
to, like, yeah, let me go.
Seal, let's do it.
I was so excited when that movie came out, and like I loved the Michael Keaton, Tim Burton ones, but they did like there was something more that I wanted from like a Batman movie that I wasn't at the time getting from those movies. So I was, you know, I was ready for like a different vision. And just like the little bits and pieces, it's like, oh yeah, this looks really cool. This really
yeah.
And then, like when I went to see them, I just had this sinking
feeling.
Yeah,
they hit a lot of it. Like, when that was the first Batman I saw, because I saw the first two when I was like kind of younger.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this is like, okay, I'm in like middle school or high school. I'm like,
yeah,
it's time for Batman.
Yeah.
And
you know like the Keaton ones. When you get to Batman Returns, you have sort of like minimal CGI, kind of like mostly unobtrusive CGI.
Yeah.
But then like Batman Forever was like just so much early bleeding edge CGI where it just looks like you know
it's that screensaver with the pipes.
Yes, it's
like just like reforming.
Yeah, it's just really like screensaver stuff, like you know, kind of like CD-ROM game kind of.
Yeah.
Stuff. And it I guess it has its own charm.
Yeah, we'll have to do a
It's cringy.
Jim Carrey's like joygasm.
Yeah, Jim Carrey was like, I guess part of it, like Jim Carrey was really good in it, and it's like, you know, it was kind of his like cash in too, because, you know, Ace Ventura was a huge hit, like, you know, he'd been in, but it's like, okay, now's the big bucks. I'm gonna be in a superhero movie.
The $20 million man.
Yeah, and he did, and like Tommy Lee Jones, they said like on this that Jim Carrey's energy was so infectious that like people would see him, like he just brought so much. He just brought this intensity and this energy, and he would bring ideas to the set that like all the other actors were like, they were kind of inspired. But then it's kind of like, well, like you guys aren't Jim Carrey.
Yeah, it's like,
and there's only room for one Jim Carrey.
We know you went to Harvard, Tommy Lee, and it's like you're like a classically trained actor. Don't you remember Tommy Lee Jones' like 10 season run on In Living Color?
I mean, Tommy Lee Jones, like watching that movie, it's like Jim Carrey's bouncing off the walls, you know, being a wild man. But then Tommy Lee Jones is trying to bounce off the wall and do the same thing. And it's not like, it's like, no, you needed the contrast. You needed the Riddler to be like bouncing off the walls and let Jim Carrey be Jim Carrey.
We need a straight man.
Yeah, we need a straight man. Like you highlight him by being super serious and intense and scary. And so then you'll get this like beautiful, beautiful contrast where you know, Two-Face seems extra tragic and extra scary, and the Riddler seems extra, you know, fun and manic and you know, cartoonish but it
like, I know we were talking, we were checking out my vintage Corn Pops box with Tommy Lee Jones on there, and he had purple, just like they just painted one side of his face. It's like, well, where's the handsome side? Yeah, they're like his face looks like an old catcher's face.
Here's the concept of Two-Face. Half his face is handsome, half his face is monstrous, and then it's like, okay, here's the concept for Batman Forever's Two-Face. Half his face is like scarred and horrible, and then the other side of his face is scarred and horrible and like, purple.
The producer's like, oh my god, dude, your cast is Tommy Lee Jones. That's a great makeup. It's like, no, that's just his regular headshot.
Now peel off half the makeup, and then we'll get the handsome.
It's like, no, that's Tommy Lee walking in from lunch.
Tommy Lee Jones is one face.
We get an angry letter from Tommy Lee Jones' former Harvard roommate Al Gore. like some people have like family jewels and stuff, and like like gold bars maybe. But my prized possession, if I had a safe, there's one thing I'd put in it. It's a vintage mint condition ream of Batman Forever material. It's like this thick. It's red. I have it. It's got that Batman logo in the question mark.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna have to break that out.
No, that's awesome.
I would, if they're like.
And so it's just like it's material. So you can like make you can make pajamas out. You can make a cape.
Make a cape out of it, and it's like, it's just full. It's like the criminals break in, go in the safe. They're like, we found this ream of Batman Forever material. in like the beginning of the movie, it like seems kind of cool. Batman, like his cars, it's like super cool. You're like ready for it. And then he like, that security guard, I think it was like John Turturro maybe. Oh yeah.
Was the security guard. Things filling up with acid! And it's like, oh, what's going on? There even before that, it was like the tip off for me, like watching this movie as a kid. Like, like super, Batman, super serious and stuff. They'll come. He's like running down the hallway, and then he turns a corner. And as he's turning the corner, he kind of lifts up his arms, like he does this like little, like this, and he's pitter patter. He does this like little move, like as he turns the corner. That was like, okay, this is a goof.
There was a camera on you watching Batman Forever for the first time. So.
Yeah, Batman. I think we've just done.
Oh, we did our Batman Forever episode
as like an addendum to Zack Snyder's Justice League.
That's pretty reason.
Yeah, and it had what's it called? It has like a song by the Flaming. It's got all the ingredients.
Great soundtrack. I'm gonna have to listen to that.
Yeah, good sound. Yeah, exactly. You got Seal. You have U2, and then you got the Flaming Lips. It's like, where else? Where else are you gonna find that?
You got the Joel Schumacher experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He's like, welcome to I'm in the Brotherhood, or whatever.
Watching like the bonus features for those movies, it's like Joel Schumacher is kind of like he's kind of like, come on, how bad Batman and Robin is like his way of saying like, but look at Batman Forever. It wasn't Batman Forever. Like, yeah, okay, Batman Forever though, that's good, right? Forget the other, but the Batman Forever.
Joel Schumacher has so many great flicks.
What a great resume.
Huge resume.
And you'd think like, well, this guy's gonna knock Batman out of the park.
Yeah, like I would have, before I saw Batman Forever, I would have been like seeing that Joel Schumacher was doing. I was like, that's intriguing. Like,
yeah, so
I'm
it's
excited.
Lost Boys and
also great underrated Nick. I know we were in the Nick Cage world recently.
The Nick Cage verse. Talking about his Superman.
Underrated Joel Schumacher 8mm with Nick Cage.
Mm-hmm. Hey, it was the biggest grossing, Batman movie of all time was Batman Forever.
Which one had Chris O'Donnell like doing like martial arts with his like he was
with his broom?
With his broom. Or
that
was
Batman Forever.
Okay, I couldn't remember.
Yeah, no, like whenever you think about like, hey, Batman and Robin wasn't that bad. It had this scene or that's it's always scenes from Batman Forever that you're remembering. There's not anything going on in Batman and Robin.
They're like they call a PA to give George Clooney another like sock for his codpiece.
Chris O'Donnell said like he never got to work with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like it was all these scenes with Arnold Schwarzenegger's double.
That's amazing. Yeah. It's stand-in city. It's like, where's Arnold? He's in his trailer. We've got his stand-in over there.
And like this came out like at a time when like the Batman animated series was just blowing everybody's mind, and just like the tone of it, the look, the action,
God, I love
just
that.
Like everything was, and they did this like amazing version of Mr. Freeze in that had like pathos and just like just this great story, this great character, this great way of playing it, and then it's like they're making Batman and Robin, and they're like, okay, we're gonna bring back like the what was it, Otto Preminger or whatever, whoever who played him in the 60s, Adam West. It's like, okay, we're doing that version. We're not doing this because like they were talking about possibly getting Patrick Stewart to play Mr. Freeze, which would have kind of fit that like Batman animated series version.
Oh, that would have been great casting.
Yeah, amazing. But it's like, nah, we're gonna do like an Otto Preminger one. We're gonna get Arnold's big box office. We're gonna get him in, and he's gonna ham it up.
That was his role. I think was like the most money made for screen time
Per second.
Like
Everybody chill.
He's like, what killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age.
You can imagine though all those ingredients playing out very differently. Where it's like, okay, the director of Lost Boys, and it's Batman. And you got George Clooney, and you got Schwarzenegger's gonna be the villain.
I know
it's gonna be so good.
If you just tell me like, hey, Arnold Schwarzenegger's gonna be the bad guy, I'm like, holy shit! Sign me up.
Poor Arnold Schwarzenegger, like he got to be like the villain in a Batman movie and a superhero, and like just like completely shit the bed.
Yeah, what if he's the Joker? The cast was the Joker.
Yeah, like think about like what like Arnold Schwarzenegger as a villain in a superhero movie. You think about what that could be or could have been or maybe could still be, and like this is what it is Batman and Robin.
He's like, where does he get those wonderful toys? Or whatever. He's like, why didn't you tell me, Bob? Why didn't you tell me he had one of those?
I mean, it's definitely one of those like true Hollywood stories, like chapters where it's like going into like your like fat Elvis era, where you're just kind of like losing touch with reality and just like doing everything for the buck.
The tail end of the top of the line Schwarzenegger box office. I can't wait till we do our Pumping Iron episode.
Pumping Iron.
I think that's streaming.
Do a Last Action Hero.
Oh my god.
We gotta do Jingle All the Way. I've never seen Jingle All the Way.
We got it. Oh
yeah.
my! Let's definitely do a jingle.
Yeah.
A tear moment, Jamie.
Like I feel like I know every scene of having never seen it. Just
we Schwarzenegger. If you want to zoom in to an episode of Total Recall show, please.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There he is.
Oh my god!
It's Arnold. Sorry about what we said about your Mr. Freeze performance.
Please forgive me, Arnold.
It's Cousin Arnold.
It's Cousin Arnold. There he is. He's like, it's great to be here. I'm so excited. So
yeah, he has this extra budget. So now he's gonna like really, put in everything. Just kind of for fun. And like the thing's so big to begin with, so long to begin with, that like I liked all the I liked the epilogue, and it's it is kind of like, okay, I'm not gonna get to make any of the sequels, so why don't I just in the epilogue just show you like the deep future and see like, because like the movie ends with like a tease of what would have been like a next movie where Deathstroke the Terminator, I think.
Oh yeah, Joe Manganiello.
Yeah, he shows Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh's Joe Manganiello. Now,
and another like he was Flash Thompson in
Spider-Man,
and then here he is as Deathstroke the Terminator. The movie ends with like a tease, and this was in the original cut too. It ends with like a tease of his character is going to come and he's going to hunt down Bruce Wayne, and then it's like then we have this like epilogue. And then it's like, okay, and now here he is in the deep future, and now he's best friends with Bruce Wayne. So obviously so like you kind of get an instant mental download of how that sequel that we never got to see played out, and now they're they've joined up, and of course
I was waiting for during that epilogue for like Manganiello to like draw down on Batman. Like
it's like it was the long game. He's like, oh, by the way, I've been hired to kill you.
It's like the end.
Yeah. The end
question mark. Yeah, Joe Manganiello, Pittsburgh. If you ever want to zoom into the Total Recall show, please, we'd love to have you on here. I don't think we didn't say anything disparaging.
Yeah, probably at least nothing that ended up in a final cut. So you have that epilogue, which again we had like there were like sort of similar kind of like flash forward scenes in Batman versus Superman. Of this kind of like the Darkseid's invasion of Earth and Superman being evil and working with him, which is sort of another trope, another part of like a lot of these comic book stories would be like Superman, becoming hypnotized or enthralled or whatever, mind controlled or allies himself with Darkseid and becomes like sort of the ultimate bad guy. so you got that, and then you also have like Martian Manhunter.
Oh yeah, he shows
showing
up.
which is kind of a treat, like, oh cool, Martian Manhunter, and like, when he visits Lois Lane, it's kind of cool and stuff, and his character, I guess, like showed up, like my memory is not so great, but I heard like his character showed up in maybe like Man of Steel or something.
Okay,
He was one of the military advisors, or working with Superman, and then but he's been John's Manhunter from Mars in disguise this whole time.
That's awesome. Yeah, at Batman's fancy. I liked his like lake house, all glass walls.
Mm-hmm. Man, yeah, he's got it made, and so it's like Zack Snyder's original conception for this movie was for Superman to show up in like his black costume, like the Superman Lives kind of black and silver costume, and that was one of the fights he'd had with Warner Brothers, was that they wanted the blue and red and gold, and he wanted this all, so like that had to go, so like you had you didn't have that in the original cut, you have it here, but then like his like redesign of the different characters, it's like when you put them all together, it's like, okay, Batman, the Dark Knight, he has like a black and dark gray costume, and then Wonder Woman has kind of like a black and brown costume, and then Martian Manhunter has like a black costume with like some like red highlights, and then Superman's got a black, so it's like everybody like this team that used to have like one guy who's all in black, it's like everybody, it's like it's that cliche, it's like the Matrix or like X-Men, where it's like, oh yeah, black it's leather cool. instead of colorful spandex. It's like, okay, whatever, I'm fine with it. Like, I mean, like Martian Manhunter's costume, like the red shows up kind of cool against like a black outfit, and it's like, and it's also like, I like my superheroes a certain way. Like I like a sort of like psychedelic, colorful superhero universe. But I'm fine. This is his interpretation. I'm cool with it. And like in the comic books, everybody had a super colorful outfit. It's like Batman has a super colorful outfit. It's got a lot of gray, but it's still got a lot of like blue and yellow and stuff. Superman has a super color. Like everybody across the board has a super colorful outfit. So like if everybody can have a super colorful outfit, then why can't everybody have a black outfit?
Yeah. Like the first X-Men, man, those are the coolest costumes from the very first X-Men.
Yeah, I mean it was something different. It just became a cliche.
Yeah, like because I remember watching like the Fox show. I'm like, I love the colorful popping like costumes.
Yeah, all that color. Yeah, it is like that. I mean that would maybe be my one critique of this movie, is I would have liked to have seen a little. But again, it's like this is his story. He's telling it his way. This is his vision. It's a cohesive, coherent vision. The whole thing works. Yeah. So like, who knows? You change one little part, maybe throws the whole thing out of whack. So it's like, okay, it's your call. If you're saying like, Zack Snyder, we want you to make a movie about the Justice League.
Your way.
Let him do it. Let him, like, don't get in his way. Let him do it.
I show up. I'm like, I'm here to block Snyder's vision.
Right.
Remember, I think somebody had like a tattoo they got that said like, release the Snyder cut. Mm-hmm. I get one. It's like, release the Sonic the Hedgehog teeth cut or whatever.
Yeah. Oh yeah, this is kind of cool. Like you walk through Superman's ship and like doors open that have his like different alternate costumes.
Oh yeah.
See, there's the Flash, traditionally with a bright red and gold costume. In this all black. It's an all black costume.
They're like, tone it down. Would have been funny when they bring him back from the dead. He shows up looking like a 1-to-1 image of Nick Cage from Superman Lives. Like, you grew a mullet while you were...
I mean, it is kind of like, I got a little bit of a charge seeing Superman in like the black and silver, like,
me too.
From that 90s era. Like, again, like it seemed kind of fresh and fun back then. Of like, oh yeah, because in the like in the comics when Superman comes back and he's in this like black outfit with like like the white S and stuff, it's like, oh, that's like what Jor-El wore in the Christopher Reeve Superman movies. You know.
Yeah. No, I'm so glad we got the Snyder cut.
Mm-hmm. Me too. I love man, what a bummer to be deprived of this.
I know.
It's such yeah. It's on my list.
Yeah.
It's on my list of favorite superhero movies. It's like
Me too.
It's doing something that you haven't really seen anywhere else, and I hold the Christopher Nolan Batman movies in really high regard, and the Christopher Reeve Superman and the Donner cut stuff. But it's like there aren't a lot of
this is something different.
Yeah, it's something different, and it's what other there's Wonder Woman, and then aside from that, what other there's a million awesome Marvel movies, and then it's not very many awesome DC movies. So it's okay, now we got another one. So it's it was much needed. This was much needed, and man, it does make you wonder how many movies out there are there that are pieces of shit, but we're this close to being awesome. It's just some behind the scenes stuff kept it from happening.
Yeah, a director wasn't allowed to achieve their their vision.
Yeah, firing Richard Donner was such a bad move, and it's Superman 2 isn't as cool as it would have been, but also they talk about what their plan, Richard Donner and Tom Mankiewicz talk about what their plan was going forward from that, where it would be okay, you'd have Bizarro, and you'd have Mxyzptlk, and you'd have the Paris, they were ready to give you all this cool stuff, and it's the Salkinds or whatever, they lost that, think about Superman 3 and Superman 4.
God,
it's how different those things would have been if it was Donner and Mankiewicz running the ship.
Yeah, when I feel a director gets kicked to the curb, the unwritten rule of I think the DP has to leave with the director too, mm-hmm. or something like that.
Yeah, for the Donner stuff, when Richard Donner got fired, they still tried to bring Tom Mankiewicz on, to do writing for it. And he's no, I can't, Dick is a good friend of mine. I'm not going to do that to him. The regular Snyder cut is this close to being a black and white movie. So the black and white version.
Look at that!
Yeah.
Oh my god!
Yeah, the Superman head fell in the most perfect,
Beautiful.
Tasteful place for that monument.
Yeah, it's who is the artist? No, it's just wreckage from a big battle. It's wow.
Amy Adams, think about what she does in this movie. Because again, you do feel the absence of Superman, and it's largely her performance. It's largely wordless.
Yes.
And she does it. It's all acting. It's all body and face and things that she's doing, and it's just telling you so much. And it's also not I could see this sort of stuff maybe being monotonous or boring, but it's fascinating.
Yeah,
too.
yeah, great job playing it.
Yeah.
She's not standing there with a hanky. She's
right. Yeah. Superman, where are
Cut.
Superman. It's Edith Bunker. Superman, where are you?
Oh, Superman!
Why are you doing this to me, Superman? God damn, oh, Superman! How could you leave me at a time like that? Damn. Oh, so, these glimpses of apocalypse.
She's wow.
Wonder Woman's Viking funeral.
Oh, got the coins on the eyes.
All this doom and gloom. So great. Another thing to mention. I'm a huge Kirby fan. I'd been excited for a really long time hearing that Ava DuVernay was going to direct a Jack Kirby's New Gods movie.
Oh, yeah.
And she was co-writing it with Tom King, who we've talked about during the Wanda and the Vision episode. And then, so after I saw this, the Snyder cut, I was okay, that that New Gods movie that Ava and Tom are working on, that's going to get the fast track. Like that's like they're gonna look at like what an impression the New Gods characters made here, and they're gonna be like, okay, we gotta like give that thing some nitro and really like get it going. So I thought like that, and then I don't know, a couple weeks later or whatever, they announced like, okay, we've decided to cancel and we've decided to cancel the Ava DuVernay and Tom King New Gods movie, and I thought like, oh well, that's odd, but I thought of like some possible reasons that might have made sense to do that. I mean, I was bummed, and then like, reading further, it's like we decided that because of Darkseid in the Justice League, that it's going to be too soon to have another Darkseid movie. So it's like, what? It was kind of the opposite of what I thought made sense. It was like, okay, strike while the iron's hot. And by the time you finish that movie, it's going to have some like it just. And like I don't think anybody's buying that excuse. Like it sounds like there's probably some other
mysterious behind the scenes.
Yeah, that's just kind of like a bullshit thing. It's kind of like when like when somebody, like when your parents or somebody give you some like bullshit answer where that they're not telling